All right, it's Jeff Mayhew, it's John Beatty, it's Politics and Parenting, where we talk about politics, but we talk about it differently. John, how you doing today?
Jeff, as I said last week, and I'm going to say it again, the vacation is over. We're back in school, and this is one as the IT director, this is one of the busiest weeks. And I think, I'm partly guilty for this work because I got new copiers this year, so now everyone has to get it fixed on their computer. I changed the Wi-Fi password, so now everyone wants a Wi-Fi password. And then, it's the summer, people forget stuff. And teachers are no different, and they forget their passwords and how things work. And I'm responsible for that. So it's been it's going to be a busy week for sure. But I in the midst of all this time and tribulation of doing your job, did you get a chance to watch the debate last week?
The debate. There was a debate last week. A local delegate debate or a state senate debate. Because
Well,
we have
it's
local
for
elections
for
going on
local
right now.
delegates that go on to the national convention. Yeah, no, the presidential camp debate. There were
Oh, the presidential
eight of the
debate.
nine. What is it? Eight people out of the 20 or so that are running, and the person who's leading in all the polls wasn't there. So that doesn't sound much like a debate, wouldn't you say?
It doesn't. And I'll be honest with you. I didn't watch, John. I'm a bad citizen.
Are you though? Well, okay. So here we go. So if it was a true debate, I'd say yeah, you're probably a bad citizen. But as you and I know, when we ran for Congress, the party likes to put on these sort of show. What would you? I want to say
So
like
it's a
dog and
candidate
what is it?
forum.
Dog and pony shows, and then what they call them?
It's an absolute dog and pony show. And I remember my first one, and I remember getting the lecture from Gary, who runs our district, and be like, now remember, guys, don't say anything mean about the other candidates. We got to come off as one team. We got to be on the same page here. Those aren't his exact words or his voice, but it's just the voice that I decided to throw out there. But he did say something very similar to that. Really struck me when I was running. Do you remember that?
That was just the general vibe. It was, don't be mean to other people because hopefully they'll vote for you in this ranked choice thing. But that would definitely, we all got our the questions beforehand, which was nice because you could prepare for them. But then, because you prepared for them, you get the question, you give your 30-second prepared remarks, and then you move on to the next person. And what I kind of gathered, and I think maybe some of the other candidate forums are much more like this, but it wasn't really talking about ideas per se, or sort of like, this is my perspective on it. It was kind of like, do I as the candidate check what the base wants in terms of ideas? Am I saying what's the biggest problem that faces America? Am I saying the border wall, and election integrity? And if I'm not saying that, am I a true Republican?
Yeah, and it changes from election to election what you're supposed to say,
Right.
right? And or like what boxes you're supposed to check. I'm not sure. I imagined I saw some clips of the debate, and I know like Trump is the big central figure, and January 6th is like where you stand on this kind of depends on like where you are in the party and whatnot. And again, it's just you're just checking a box. And
Hmm.
like if you're a citizen at home and you're wondering like, man, I really wonder what these guys believe. I mean, they believe what they're told to believe.
They
They
believe what
believe
they're
what you
told.
applaud,
Hmm.
like that's what they believe. They are, I mean, at the end of the day, they're kind of, I hate to, I don't know these people, but it's almost cowardly in a way to just say what people like, what you think people want to hear. And then you keep on saying the things that they applaud to. I mean, if you're a leader, it's not your job. Sometimes you have to say things that are hard. Sometimes you have to disagree with people. I mean, that is the point of the debate. And the fact that we have a system that discourages it. Notice all of the people on stage face the moderator,
Hmm.
right? And the you're not really allowed that back and forth. It's like you said, it's here are the questions. Please prepare your answers in 30, 60, or a minute and 30 seconds. And which, like, these are heavy questions. I remember at our one of our debates, as I use air quotes, I got a question about, it was like they were like yes and no questions that like were not yes and no answers.
Yes, that was my favorite one. It was like, this is a yes or no question. The question was 30 seconds, and there was actually like two or three sub questions in there. And every single candidate was kind of like, can I do like a yes, 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 no? What do you want?
And I was just the stubborn guy that was like, hey, your question is not really good. I didn't make any friends that day.
Yes, you did. Didn't you meet Craig?
Oh, you know what? You're dead on. That is
That's
the
right.
day that I met Craig. I met a great friend that day. I retract my statement.
There we go. We'll cut this out so we won't see that. But no, I mean, like that's what like these things are. And obviously, I would assume that the candidates at the presidential debate last week didn't get the questions beforehand. But you go into this with a certain idea of what people are talking about, what your campaign's all about, what's sort of the what's going on in current events and what you're going to get asked. So a lot of these candidates spend a lot of time preparing for it. Um, but like what you kind of get is a lot of the same questions, or there's sort of a stark divide on some of the more particular ones. And so you can appreciate that. And I would say, like, if someone honestly believes something and holds it to close to their principles, like, I'm not going to fault them for saying something I might disagree with. But I think that's where it gets to where it's not really a debate, because as you said, like, they're all facing the moderator. Like, they're not really, they kind of, there's some crosstalk and they jib and jab at each other. And if you get mentioned, you get a chance to respond. But really, you're not talking about the ideas. It's sort of like, I'm going to speak to the talking points that I know, like, my little group wants. They want to hit this point, they want to hit that point and that point, and I'm going to give it to them. Maybe I'll get some flack from Twitter or something, from the woke media. Maybe they won't like that, but I'd say, would, like, generally, like, you're just sort of talking to what you know, and you're not really trying to learn more. What you're trying to do is to signal to your tribe and your sub tribe and your tribe of tribes, in terms of where you are and why they should still follow you, why other people should defect from their tribe and follow you. And I think that contrasts so much from probably, like, the Lincoln Douglas debates is one of the best examples we have in American history. But just the idea of, like, people just kind of having that conversation. And I know, Jeff, that's one thing that you really wish candidates did more of sort of like off the cuff podcasts or sort of on the street interviews, where you're talking with people and trying to answer questions and trying to hash things out, and maybe kind of a situation where everyone kind of learns from it. Even if you
Yeah.
come in with your ideas and you're not 100% convinced, it's got you thinking, and it's got you considering what might be else you need to bring into your argument, or a valid point for someone else. Like, when no one gets any credit for saying, like, that was a valid point. And
Yeah, I mean, so that it makes me think of a couple things. So I posted a Plutarch quote that is very meaningful about this subject. It says, know how to listen and you will profit even from those who talk badly. And I think, talking to people inside the swamp, right? The politicians, in all honesty, like, they really don't value regular citizens. Like, they just don't value them. Like, they nitpick them, they insult the way that they talk, and then, the passion and all these different things, they shide them, and then they go out and they ask them for their vote. And it's like, if you just listen to those people, like, I'm reading Calhoun's biography right now, and he had this very uh like very strong relationship with his daughter. And he talks about how he really valued his daughter's opinion, and his daughter kind of like is self-deprecating in this moment, saying, I don't know why he wants to listen to me. I'm an idiot. Essentially, she uses words that were more appropriate back then. And he would say, like, I don't think she understands her value. Like, maybe she doesn't talk the way that I talk and other people talk, but she has very intelligent things to say. And I think that's where our leaders lose, because maybe they're not said intelligently, they're perceived as not intelligent, but they are intelligent. Maybe they're the wrong words. Maybe, when you're writing your letter, you use the wrong there or your, but it doesn't mean that the idea or the intent isn't correct. And I think people in charge kind of throw that away. And that's where you get this divide. And back to the other point about the moderators, Troy Tevye, is it Tevye?
Heavy Troy.
Yeah,
Heavy
Tevye
Troy.
Troy. He wrote an article in the Washington Journal this week, after the podcast, and he was, he makes the argument that we should just get rid of the moderators, which I'm all on board for. I mean, talk about, like, your politician should be a skilled conversationalist. They
Mm-hmm.
should be able to take somebody who disagrees with them, sit down, have a passionate conversation and walk them through where they should be. Bring them onto their side, or at least make them understand enough not to be angry anymore. Maybe you still disagree, but at least you're not angry anymore. Like, that's what a politician should be. And that should be with every regular citizen that they encounter who is frustrated, because that's their job. That's their representative, and then, they'll make the argument, oh, I can never reach all the people. And, I make the argument of uncapping the House, making the group smaller and so forth. But, you know, it should be done. And as far as, like, what test, I mean, what does a president have to do? They have to sit down in a room with other very intelligent people and have conversations, and then they have to win. So why do we not put them on stage and do that to each other? Why is there just like not 9 chairs in a circle with 9 people talking to each other? Now, it sounds, maybe it's, well, you never know what's going to happen, but the skilled leaders will come out of it. There has to be some rules and some decorum, but the skilled conversationalists will come out of it on top. And you'll learn so much more about the candidates than you will from these checklist questions that, let's face it, come on, everybody knows what these questions are before they go on. We constantly hear about how these questions are leaked to the candidates before the event, and we hear about it, 6 months later or a year later or whatever. It's just the way that the system works. And yeah, as we talk, the system's a little spoiled. They're a little bratty. They're entitled. They think they deserve everything. And it's not the case. They need to go out and earn it.
Well, have you seen, sometimes they do the town hall presidential debates, which I think are more in line with that, where the questions come from the crowd, from actual citizens, allegedly. Who knows? Maybe they're plants.
I mean, come on. But they pick the citizens, just like they pick the people in the room. We know this in the events that we go to. Like, they only invite, you don't know about it. You're not a regular citizen to get a chance. You have to be in the inner circle to get one of those invites.
You just have to be in the email list, I'm sure, and donate or something like that. But I think that is an opportunity for more of a conversation. But part of the problem is, like, everything is televised, and maybe we just kind of accept that we can't televise it all, and we allow for something that's more long form conversational. I think a 9-person conversation might get really messy, and that might be like yield the more shouting and stuff than than a big well. No, it's like something about, like, there would be some merit to having 9 people just kind of shout at each other. Like, it's like a Thanksgiving dinner, it's just, you throw some bombs in there and see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I mean, if you have 9 rational, thoughtful people on stage who are actually qualified to be president, then I think you can have a successful conversation. However, in the state of our republic, we're not getting that. So maybe you're right. But I mean, like, you break them up, do different, like, okay, you've got 9 people, put 4 at
Honestly, if you did like a
9
draft, like,
yeah,
let's forget the poll numbers, forget the fundraising. Like, what it was just like a draft. You take all 29 candidates, 45 candidates. You do a little, you have like the Powerball kind of like a spinner going around. You just like candidate 1, candidate 2, and maybe the numbers are based on their polls or something. So, like, they know you pick the numbers based on the polls, and then, like, the candidates have to sort of like fit into those polls, so there's some like jockeying. Maybe I don't want to be like number 3 in the polls. Maybe I want to be number 4 because I know that's going to put me against someone else. Like, there's some intrigue right there, and then
yeah. And so now, like, now you're in it's like DeSantis, Pence, Christie, and Vivek in, like, from the 8 to 9 o'clock hour. And then from the 9 to 10 o'clock hour, you've got Hutchinson, I don't remember the candidate.
Bergman.
We got to split these guys up because nobody knows their name. We got to put somebody heavyweight down here. Who's a heavyweighter that's left in the presidential race that I haven't named?
Donald Trump.
Yeah, but he's not going to do a debate because
he wouldn't but he would do a conversation, don't you think? Like, honestly, he would show up because he knew he could upstage someone. He could just sort of talk over them.
I don't think he can upstage someone in an open conversation. Like, in an open conversation with 4 other people or 3 other people who really understand history and government, I think Trump is completely unmasked as unprepared. All they have to do is start asking him, like, legitimate questions about, like, procedures and history and laws, and then just be quiet. Like, he won't answer the question, and then you just ask him the question over and over again, and like there's no moderator there to stop you. Like make him be silent, because at some point he's going to get to the point where he's like, look, I just don't know the answer, okay, and it's not important that I don't know the answer. I know everything else.
I give it to you. I just don't, based on what I've seen the past 6 years at this point, I don't think he'd ever be quiet.
That's because the people on stage like don't understand that. They're
Well, so,
always
yeah, I guess that's your,
trying to like one up him in what he does. Like they're the Calhoun method, power with power. There's no ambition there. There's no patience there. Nobody's like playing the long game to like let Trump, hurt himself. They're just he constantly hurts himself, and they bail him out with all their idiocy.
yeah. So anyway, if anyone's listening, well, people are listening, but this is our this is our campaign pledge. We'll fix the debates. We'll do a ranked draft based on poll numbers. We'll pick the numbers Powerball style, so it'll be a lot of fun, a lot of enjoyment. So that could be that whole thing could be televised as well. So you get your ad dollars there, and then you just do a conversation or something, and maybe you all see poll spots for like where you are in the hours.
I got a better idea. Okay, that's a great idea, and maybe we do that one. But I got another idea. Okay, so how about this? How about we do like a March Madness style debate? Okay, so like on Monday night, it's DeSantis versus Vivek. Okay, and you rank them on their poll numbers. All right, so I don't know, they're number 4 and 5. I'm just throwing it out there, right? And then on Tuesday night, you're facing Trump versus Bergman, like, and then the winners play next, like debate next week, right? They run polls off of this, and the winners debate next week.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, the problem is like no one trusts the polls, and
Well, that's true.
this is the other problem with the post debate analysis. Like, who actually wins the debate? Like, some people are like, oh, this person did really well, this person didn't do that well, but then if you ask probably 20 different pundits after the debate who won it, who failed it, who gained the most, who gained the least, who had a strong showing in this respect, who's a strong showing in this, you get all these different answers. But then you sort of compare that with poll numbers, with fundraising and stuff, and it's totally different. So
You know who won the debate?
apparently DeSantis won the debate because his polls went
No.
up or something.
Nope, he did not win the debate. And you know how? So the person that won the debate was Vivek. And you know how I know this?
Oh, because everyone's talking about him.
Well, and remember, I don't pay attention. Like, I'm not, I mean, I'm on Twitter, but I'm not like on Twitter. I'm like on Facebook, and I'm not on Facebook. I'm not really paying attention to the national scene. However, I got a lot of text messages last week, and people are like, hey, you watching the debate? And so I had a lot of conversations with people locally about the debate, and all of them that I had conversations with thought Vivek was the guy. And we're talking people that tend to lean maybe a little bit more on the liberal side, that have gotten, maybe they're like an ex-Democrat where the party has left them. And you've got like MAGA people that feel the same way, and then even like just a lot of like the middle of the road friends that they're like, I really like this Vivek guy. He really gets it. And you know, my argument to them is like, he doesn't get it. It's a game. It's not real. I
Right.
get what you're saying. Like, I understand that he makes a compelling argument, but it's just the wrong argument, and he should know better. And he's doing it for popularity, to win power, and all these things. And, we have long discussions about it. But at the end of the day, like, again, the larger media they don't really talk to regular people. They poll the
Correct.
people that they poll. They ask the people they want to ask questions. So like all of that stuff is make believe. Like it's just all, well, it's not make believe. It's just we live in a different world than they live in.
There's a sprinkling of fairy dust over it. It's like close enough to reality as people will believe it, but at the end of the day, it isn't quite a true picture of what you see. And that's why like that's polling error in a nutshell. Like, you could ask 100 people, and then you do your fancy statistics, and you say like, well, of the 100 people you asked, we can project this onto the entire population. But it's like there's going to be a lot of error in there because you haven't asked everyone, and that's just the nature of polling and all that stuff. But
and you're controlling who you ask.
correct, yeah.
And so like my thing is like when people come tell you, it's different. And
Hmm.
it's different because like if they're telling you, they're telling somebody else, which means whatever it was spread further than the other thing spread, because it takes a lot for people to talk about politics nowadays. Like regular people
Absolutely.
do not want to talk about politics. I mean, we face this in our day-to-day struggle. And I'm I'm extrapolating this across the nation and assuming that this is happening everywhere.
But honestly, and then people only talk about politics with you if they like trust you that you're not going to, that you'll keep it civil because they see how uncivil it is, and they say
Yeah.
like, "I'm scared, and I don't want that to happen to me." So, no, it is this very small subset of people that will actually talk to you about stuff. But what do they call it? The bias in statistical surveys. If you're only getting a small sample that isn't representative.
Yeah.
So, but is that a look at your bookshelf as we're talking about this? Is that a new book you got behind me? How the Force Can Fix the World?
That one right there.
Yeah, that
So
one.
it's not new, but our good friend Craig, which we mentioned earlier on the show, Craig T. Stewart and I, we have a podcast called What the Book. And this week we interviewed Stephen Kent, author of How the Force Can Fix the World. It was a great interview. I think we're releasing that pod. It'll be out by the time this pod is released. We're gonna release it on Wednesday, the 30th
30th.
of August, because I don't know what day it is. It was a really good interview, man. Like I mean, Craig and Steven are two of my favorite people to talk to. You are obviously included in that as well. And people know that I love to talk. So if you get up in that top like Jeff loves to talk to you list, it's just fun. And being able to sit down with both of them and talk about something that we all kind of enjoy, Star Wars and politics. It
Hmm.
was fun. It was really cool. You'll have to check it out when it comes out. I think, like I said, Craig's releasing it tomorrow.
No spoilers, but can the Force fix the world?
Yes,
There you go. I guess we got to
you
listen more
got
to
to
find out,
listen to find out.
and buy the book and read it. All that.
Absolutely, go buy the book. It is, So yeah, I mean, everybody that follows us kind of knows I love to read, right? And I mentioned I'm reading the Calhoun. I love history. I love a story. I typically don't like to read a lot of like modern nonfiction political stuff. And that's because it just makes me so angry, to be honest with you.
So I was at a meet and greet yesterday, and some guy was pushing a book, not that he wrote, but that was kind of pertinent to the facts. And I don't want to mention the book because I don't want to. I know the author, and he's a great guy, but he had a copy of it, and I thought I might be in it just because of what the content was. So I was kind of quickly scanning through it, but like I know what you're talking about. Like the modern political book is just like heavy footnotes, and you
Yeah.
just feel like everything has to be like super cited so uh, uh, they don't get called a plagiarist. But like that just makes it so dry then because you're just basically like constantly citing stuff. So it's just a matter of like going from this citation to this citation to this citation. There's kind of like a narrative woven around that, but it's very can be very dry. And
Yeah. And this is not
uh,
that. This book is not dry. It's very thoughtful. It's well crafted. You feel like you're reading a story. It doesn't speak at you. It's talking with you. And it's an absolute great book. I highly recommend it. And again, check out the podcast. What the book, man.
with two at symbols, so it's easy to find on your local podcatcher.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to think differently out there.
I think what you also were saying before we got on is that you had a brake issue this past weekend, and
Oh
are you
my
still do
God.
you still have wheels now?
So in the last couple of weeks, my one car's engine died, my washing machine broke, my lawnmower broke, and the brakes went out on my van on Sunday after church. I'm like living an Oliver Anthony song right now,
That's what I was about to say. Like that, you got a country song right there. You just need like your.
So, but I talk about it a lot. I'm neighbors with my brother and his wife and two daughters, and then down the street is my dad. And I'm lucky that both my brother and my dad are mechanics. So the brakes go out. My wife texts my dad, and he's like, "Well, I just replaced the caliper less than a year ago. We should check that. Maybe it went bad, and then we can get it. It's probably under warranty. You can get a new one. No big deal." Sure enough, that's exactly what the problem was. My wife and I went and Took the
Wow,
old
I
caliper.
like that. So like I appreciate when I can diagnose a computer problem over the phone, but like diagnosing a mechanical problem where you just kind of like the brakes don't work and I'm like, oh yeah, it's probably the caliper, and then that's amazing. That's true talent right there.
And so my brother takes our van on Sunday or Monday, Sunday. He takes the old caliber off, diagnoses the problem officially. We take it back to the store. We get the new caliber. Now, unfortunately, we still got to buy new brake pads and new hoses because the
Hmm.
caliper's under warranty, but the caliper going bad broke all the other parts. So we're still out of
Oof.
pocket a little bit of money. Now, typically, if you're a regular person and you don't have a brother or a family member that's a mechanic, you're taking it to a shop and you're paying a lot of money for that
Hmm.
labor. Um, and my brother, not only does he fix it for us, he texts me and he's like, "Hey, can you send Oliver over here?" And Oliver's 13. So I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." So he teaches Oliver how to do this. Now, I mean, we talk about parenting a lot, and like your job as a parent is to teach your kid life skills, to be prepared for life. But as a parent, you can't, like, no person knows everything. And while I have two mechanics in the family, and I was taught a lot of mechanical things growing up, it isn't something that I've divested a lot of my time into. So I'm not the best person to teach Oliver this stuff. And it's really nice that we've got family close and they have a passion for sharing that information, sharing that ability to teach with my children, you know. And I hope to one day be able to repay my brother and teaching one of his daughters something that maybe isn't one of his strengths, because that's how you build like a stronger family unit. It's how you build a stronger individual, is just by like working together and
Hmm.
being okay with what you're good at, being okay with what you're not good at, and asking for help with those things that you're not good at.
Yeah, no, one of the fondest memories I have growing up, it was just my dad would build these jungle gyms for us. So he built one when we lived at a house in Maryland. But he made the decision, I think it was a prudent decision, to put all the footers in the ground with concrete so it didn't move with us. And I was probably like 6 or 7 at the time when he was building this, but it's just fun to like be next to him as he's cutting the wood and stuff. And we kind of like help by picking up the scraps and getting them out of the way. But then when I was 13, and we were at a different house, and he was building a brand new jungle gym set, like it was just a phenomenal time to work with him, see him kind of like perform the service for our family. And I learned a little bit of woodworking, and that's enough to be dangerous. And it helps you as a homeowner. It helps you as you build your own things for your kids. And so it is really nice to be able to if you can't do it, but like to show your kids how to just be practical with your hands. And he did the same thing with car maintenance. A big family, and he was just working on a government civil service salary, so he was very handy. A lot of self-taught mechanic stuff. So he did a lot of his own brakes, and it wasn't uncommon for some Saturday to just be like the whole day working on the car. um, if it was I think the worst things, well, the most difficult things were the suspension, and I couldn't even tell you what parts they were, but like the springs and struts and springs, that's what it is. Like, because that's a lot of parts that have to come out, and you kind of like you get deep into the wheel well. And he would just roll up his sleeves and do it, and we'd kind of watch him help a little bit, and then when he get frustrated, we'd sort of like scurry away because we knew it'd be better maybe not to be in the picture at that point. But you learn a lot just by being around people as they work. And I think anytime we can give our kids that opportunity, even if it's like helping out with dinner. I think William was helping make dinner today. He had his apron on when I came home, and he was looking for heavy cream in the fridge. So just getting kids involved and getting them to buy in and to put some sweat equity into the family, it just helps all around.
Yeah. I was so happy yesterday because Oliver and Julia made dinner with nobody asking them to make dinner. So like we
Wow.
we've got this family wall app, and like we plan out the week. We do a menu. Every day has like the item that we're making on there. And typically my wife or I have to go around, like we've had the kids cooking for a while and been teaching them. And I'll
Hmm.
typically be like, "Hey, tonight's Wednesday, we're making this. Let's grab, you get this part cooking and do this." Well, yesterday I was working. Vanessa was she was off doing something. I can't remember what it was. Work of some sort. And like I turned around and Oliver and Julia are making dinner. They went to the app, they figured out what dinner was, they pulled out the ingredients and they started cooking it. And I'm
That's
like,
amazing.
oh my God, like like thank you. Thank you so much. Like just one thing I don't I mean, I'm sure lots of parents out there can relate. Like just imagine like your children, if you're in that younger children phase and they're
Hmm.
very dependent on you. Just imagine to the point where you get home and they actually like do things to help.
That's a
I
game changer, as they
it's
say.
it feels like a weight is lifted off of your shoulders. It's like I don't have to think about dinner. I tell
Hmm.
people all the time, like you have no idea how much energy just goes into planning dinner every single day for the rest of our lives.
And you throw in lunch and breakfast, and like
Lunch
that's a
and
lot. It's a
breakfast.
lot.
Oh my God.
No, yeah,
Go ahead.
no, just like it's amazing when you can get everyone involved in the family, because that just makes everyone's lives better. And and when you're growing up, having that sense of accomplishment is so something you could just bring with you throughout your rest of your life, and that confidence grows as you grow. Like there's no, sure, it's a little bit of extra work, and then you help out with the kitchen or something, but like that's a valuable lesson you can teach your children, and a valuable um, skill that you're imparting on them, that they will bring with them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
No, just kids helping out. It's good. We should encourage more of it.
Yeah. I like but so like kids help out when you give them you have to give them the opportunity, you got to give them
Hmm.
the tools, you have to give them the instructions, and you have to make them feel like valued. And what I layer that over to is I layer it over to our politics. Like we talked about earlier, people don't want to talk about politics.
Right.
Whose fault is that? That's our leaders' fault. They've they've made it so toxic. They've stripped away opportunity for everyone else. There's no value in helping out anymore. And like, back to the analogy that started the podcast is politics and parenting. Governing is shaping society and parenting is shaping children, and our governing body is shaping us in a way that is not good. It's not an opportunity, it's not for opportunity, it's not for anything other than power. And
Hmm.
it's disappointing. It really is. And we started the conversation out talking about the debates and how there really aren't debates. It's just it's it's BS. It's a lie. It's newspeak. It's all of the dystopian words that you can think of. And we're living it, and we just accept it. And like people text me and they're like, "Why did you watch the debate?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "You have a podcast about politics. You're the one person in the community that's always talking about politics. You're not watching the debate?" And I go, "No, because it's not important and you shouldn't be watching either." Like that person doesn't know you, they don't care about
Hmm.
you, and they're not going to do anything to help you. You're much better off spending your time in your community, finding your local leaders and having your voice heard. Like you have a better chance of getting something done that way. And the fact that we devote so much time to the national, federal, corporate media, whatever you want to call it, and so little time in our communities finding the people that are running for office and holding them accountable. Because let's face it, we talk about it all the time. They live in a bubble. They don't know other people exist. It's easy to blame them, but what about the voters? What about the people that are just have given up and aren't trying to have their voice heard, who are paying attention only to the national media and not to the local not that there is a local media, but to the local politicians.
Yeah, and honestly, if something really important happened in the debate, you would have heard about it. So if you didn't watch it, and we didn't watch it, we got the highlights from our being more plugged in than usual, I'd say, and that's all that mattered. Like it was what, 3 hours, and I think we spent that time much better, either with our Madison Republicans leadership meeting, and then just kind of probably getting to bed early or something like that.
That's true.
Um,
That's what we were doing.
yeah.
We were working in a leadership meeting for our community. Like Hey, what are you going to do in the debate? Well, I'm going to keep doing the same thing I do every day, Pinky.
That's right.
Stay focused. Don't get distracted.
So speaking of getting involved locally, I think can't stop plugging it, but we got the Small Business Forum on September 16th, Great Maine Brewery, and it's shaping up well.
Oh man, it's so good. I'm really excited for it, John. So we brought our friend Leslie Salmon on board from Going Gainesville, and she's carrying a lot of weight for us. It's always good when you inspire your community and you get help around you, you know.
Hmm.
She's got some great new vendors for us. You know, we're gonna have a photo booth there. And they're donating the photo booth service for the whole event. So you can come in and get your, you know, like I don't know what your like mid-20s were like, but my mid-20s were a lot of going to my friends' weddings. And one
Hmm.
of my favorite things to do with my wife was just to go and take silly pictures.
Yep.
And you know, when I started reading, the silly pictures of my friends' weddings were my bookmarks. Um, they hold memories for me. It's just a really cool thing that you get to do. And they're donating it for the whole event, and that's really awesome. And we're gonna have the Floss King back. And so I'm and Tactical Trash Pandas is coming back as well. So it's gonna be a really great event. We're really excited for it.
Can't wait. I'm looking forward to it.
When is it?
September 16th, Great Maine Brewery, Haymarket, Virginia,
2 to 6 p.m.
2 to 6 p.m.
We changed the time a little bit. Oh, and you know what? The other thing we forgot to mention is Patches of Earth is doing $2 pork sandwiches. If you haven't had Patches of Earth, you're missing out. And this is your chance because now you can get it for only $2. Limit one per person. I know I sound like a commercial, but what do you want?
It is a commercial. We're plugging it. So
It is a
uh,
commercial. Everything's a commercial.
we're looking forward to everyone being there. It's going to be, the new and improved small business showcase, um, and I heard the Dino is making his reappearance.
Yes, the Flannel Dino will only be doing one reading this time
Yeah,
because he learned that doing a reading every half hour is a lot of work.
a lot of work.
So the reading will be at 4 o'clock. We're really excited about that. I actually have a friend who is helping out with the Flannel Dino. I'm not 100% sure if she will be there, but it's always good to have a little bit of a different voice, you know, get the male voice, we get the feminine voice.
Hmm.
In the reading to make sure that we're inspiring both boys and girls to read. So I'm really excited about that. You know how much I love the Flannel Dino here and getting kids to read.
Well, it'll be good. We'll see you all there. So
All right. Well, that's good, John. Let's close it up for today. So as John mentioned, we have the Small Business Showcase on September 16th. You can go to our Facebook page and RSVP. Remember, Patches of Earth will be doing $2 pork sandwiches, limit one per person. You will have to register and get a ticket to get the sandwich. We have the What the Book podcast available on Spotify, along with our Thank You for Sharing podcast, also available on Spotify and Apple. We have a new episode out just today from Cody Powell of Trouvaille Brewery. You know how much we love those breweries locally with great beer, and we talk about small business. So you go check it out today. Remember to like, comment, and share. And as always, peace and love.